If you ever went to a high school where yearbook superlatives meant more than your GPA, then you know the type of place I came from. The popular kids didn't just have cliques, they had brands. Alyssa Monroe wasn't a cheerleader. She was Queen of Spirit. Josh Feldman didn't just play quarterback. He was Feldman the Future. Even our English teacher had a nickname, Grammar Daddy, which, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have been allowed. And then there was me, Mason Blake. No nickname. No spotlight. No yearbook quote. Just a blurry face in the corner of group photos and a last name teachers pronounced wrong until graduation. I was the kid who got marked present, even when I wasn't there. The one who got called Matthew for 3 years straight, and I never corrected anyone because, well, what was the point? They remembered the loud ones. The pretty ones. The ones who peaked early and wore that peak like a varsity jacket they still hadn't taken off. I wasn't jealous back then. Mostly just tired. I was working part-time at a hardware store junior year to help Mom with rent, fixing broken extension cords in the back and pretending I didn't mind when she forgot to sign my permission slips again. My classmates were doing college tours and prom fittings while I was figuring out how to rewire a bathroom fan so it didn't start smoking at night. They talked about internships. I talked to myself in a walk-in freezer while restocking Gatorade. One time, just once, I tried to join a lunch table conversation about future plans. I said, "I'm thinking about going into electrical work." And Alyssa blinked like I'd confessed to a felony. "Oh," she said. "That's cute." I never brought it up again. At senior awards night, they handed out plaques for things like most inspirational, most likely to succeed, and best smile. They skipped over me entirely. My homeroom teacher tried to soften the blow by saying, "You've got great potential, Mason. Some people just take longer to bloom." Which is code for, "You exist, but not enough for applause." The only teacher who actually seemed to see me was Mr. Koenig. Old, slightly bitter, taught shop class like it was sacred. He once pulled me aside after school and said, "You've got hands that'll build a life. Screw speeches and spotlights, just show up." That stuck. After graduation, I didn't do what they all did. No frat parties, no Instagram dorm life. I didn't post "off to college" selfies or collect student debt like baseball cards. I went to trade school. Lived at home. Ate microwaved mac and cheese. Listened to guys named Rick explain circuit diagrams at 7 a.m. It wasn't glamorous. But it was mine. And every time I rewired a breaker or helped someone not electrocute themselves, I felt a little more like I knew who I was. Not a cautionary tale. Not a footnote. Just a guy building something real. Still, I'll be honest. When the 10-year reunion email hit my inbox, filled with photos of people I hadn't thought about since TikTok became a thing, I laughed. Because out of all the things they listed in the agenda, awards, memory videos, speeches from notable alumni, my name wasn't on any of it. Not even a passing mention. Not even in the "Where are they now?" section, where they managed to include Trent Miller and his failed fitness app. There was just a single line at the bottom. "Can't wait to see everyone who made these halls unforgettable." Unforgettable. That word sat in my chest like an old fuse box, too full, about to blow. Because I was there too. I walked those same halls. Sat in those same desks. Held in my rage when they laughed, smiled when they forgot me, worked while they played. I didn't need their recognition. But I wasn't about to let them pretend I never existed either. My first job after trade school was in the basement of a bakery that kept blowing its circuit every time someone used the espresso machine and the microwave at the same time. "Just jiggle it," the owner told me, pointing at a half-melted outlet like I was supposed to sprinkle magic dust on it. Instead, I rewired the whole panel, replaced 3 overloaded breakers, and made sure the place wouldn't burn down next time someone heated a croissant. He paid me in cash and a cinnamon bun. That was my life for a while. Early mornings in boiler rooms. Afternoons in crawl spaces. Nights scrolling YouTube tutorials from electricians with beards longer than my resume. No business cards. No logo. Just Mason in a second-hand van, tools in the back, snacks in the glove compartment, and a playlist called Don't fall asleep on the drive home. The jobs were small, fixing light fixtures in dusty rental units, replacing ceiling fans for landlords who forgot I existed the second I left. But I kept going. Not because anyone believed in me, but because I was too stubborn to quit. Mom said it was admirable. Dad said it was fine for now. They weren't mean. Just quietly disappointed that I hadn't taken the college route, the real one. They still forwarded me job listings for office receptionist roles. Just in case. I didn't argue. I just installed 3 security systems that week and made more than their monthly mortgage. Eventually, I stopped fixing other people's mistakes and started getting bigger calls, renovations, new builds, commercial work. One contractor I worked with, Rudy, liked that I didn't talk much. Most of these guys flap their mouths more than their toolboxes, he said. You work. I started getting recommended. Word of mouth. The kind that actually matters. That's when I registered the name, Blake Electrical. Not flashy. Not trying too hard. Just mine. Got a proper van. Wrapped it with a logo a friend's cousin made for $50 and a 6-pack. I still remember the first time someone called and said, "Hi, is this Blake Electrical?" Like it was a real business, and not just me sitting in a parked car outside of 7-Eleven eating trail mix. I didn't say much. Just cleared my throat and said, "Yep. How can I help?" 3 years later, I had a crew. Not big, just 2 guys, Joey and Tomas. Both smart, both solid. We weren't corporate. We didn't wear polos or hand out pens at events. But we showed up. We rewired a dance studio with 30-year-old lighting. Installed a solar panel system for a woman who cried when her electric bill dropped $200. Built out an entire wiring system for a startup gym that went bankrupt in 6 months but still left a great Yelp review. I didn't care about becoming some 6-figure success story. I cared about being good at my craft. About making enough to sleep at night without checking my bank account twice. And I was proud of that. But pride's a funny thing. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. Which is probably why, when the high school reunion planning committee sent out their big announcement email, complete with speaker lineup, sponsorship banners, and alumni spotlights, I didn't even get a mention. Not a logo. Not a name drop. Not a blurry photo of me installing lighting in the newly renovated gym wing. Yes, I did that. I laughed at first. Then I checked the list. Josh Feldman? Speaking about resilience, after his 3rd startup flopped. Alyssa Monroe? Hosting the event because of her commitment to the community, which apparently meant teaching Pilates 3 times a week at a strip mall. And then it hit me. They still didn't see me. Not as successful. Not as relevant. Not even as present. Just like high school. Invisible Mason. The kid who didn't get a plaque, or a quote, or even a name. I closed the email. Stared at my laptop screen for a long minute. And then I made a decision. I clicked reply and wrote, "Hi. I saw you're still looking for sponsors. I'd be interested in supporting the reunion. Let me know what the options are. I'd be happy to help. Mason Blake, Blake Electrical." I got the confirmation email 2 days later. "Thanks so much, Mason. We'd love to feature your business as one of our supporters. We've added Blake Electrical to the program brochure under the Gold Tier sponsors." Gold Tier? Sounds impressive, right? Wrong. That meant my name was sandwiched between Petunia's Pet Grooming and Feldman Fitness App LLC, defunct. The brochure PDF was attached. 5 pages of pastel-colored memories, poorly cropped senior photos, and a list of alumni speakers that read like a rejected Shark Tank lineup. Josh Feldman was opening with a talk called Failing Forward. Alyssa Monroe was hosting Reunion Bingo, with squares like Married a Doctor and Still in Our Hometown. Not a word about me. No intro. No spotlight. No mention that the entire upgraded gym wing they were so proud of? I wired it. Alone. In July. During a heat wave. While the AC unit, also installed by me, was still waiting on a part because someone's cousin forgot to order it. But sure. Bingo. There was even a list of alumni achievements, with a footnote that said, Due to space constraints, not all submissions were included. Space constraints, huh? Wild how they had room for someone who once interned at a frozen yogurt chain but not the guy who kept their breakers from tripping during every winter dance. Still, I didn't respond. Didn't protest. Didn't email the planning committee or ask to be added as a speaker. Why? Because I already had the mic. They just didn't know it yet. The week of the reunion, I called the school secretary and arranged a little favor. Hey, this is Mason Blake from Blake Electrical. I was hoping I could stop by early and check the lighting setup in the auditorium. Don't want any issues during the big night. Oh, of course, she chirped. We're so grateful for your support. The new fixtures look amazing. I know, I said, smiling. That's why I want to make sure they stay that way. I showed up Thursday at 6 p.m., 24 hours before the reunion. Wore a hoodie, cap, and the same steel-toe boots I'd worn when I installed the lighting system 4 years ago. Walked through those halls like a ghost who'd decided to start haunting on his own terms. The school hadn't changed much. Still smelled like bleach and cafeteria pizza. Still had the same trophy case near the main office, full of dust-covered awards and a plaque for outstanding athletic leadership, with Josh Feldman's smirk front and center. In the auditorium, I checked the lighting board. Everything worked fine, of course. I'd done the wiring myself. But I left a few notes for the tech guy, suggestions on dimmer presets, lighting transitions, and a gentle reminder not to overload Circuit 6. Unless he wanted the stage to go dark mid-speech. Not that I was hoping. Then I walked out and didn't look back. The next evening, I put on the suit. Not just a suit. A dark navy, custom-tailored, sharp enough to start its own LLC. I'd had it made a year ago for a city business expo that got cancelled last minute due to a rogue squirrel chewing through an overhead transformer. Irony, huh? I hadn't had a reason to wear it since. Until now. Hair trimmed. Beard clean. Shoes polished. Watch simple. Nothing flashy, just the kind of look that makes people pause before they say, "Wait, is that Mason?" I pulled up in the company van. Didn't even try to hide it. Logo gleaming, tools locked in the back, ladder still strapped to the roof. Let them see it. Let them wonder. The auditorium was already half full. Music playing softly. People clutching little plastic cups of cheap red wine and hugging each other like they hadn't spent high school passive-aggressively competing over GPA points and dates to homecoming. I walked in. No one looked twice. Not yet. Name tag station near the entrance. A woman I vaguely remembered from choir tried to find my name. "Sorry," she said. "It's not on the pre-printed list." "What was it again?" "Mason Blake." She blinked. "Oh. There should be a blank one somewhere." "It's okay," I said, taking a sharp and writing it myself in bold, even strokes. Mason Blake. No nickname. No middle name. No tagline. Just me. You ever walk into a room full of people you grew up with, and realize not one of them ever really knew you? That's what the reunion felt like. Like walking through a museum of people who used to ignore me. Josh Feldman was already holding court in the corner, button-down shirt one size too small, talking about entrepreneurial pivots, like they weren't just bankruptcies with nicer fonts. Alyssa Monroe floated by in a sequin jumpsuit like she'd been rehearsing this entrance in her head for a decade. She air-kissed two people and started a conversation with a fake laugh so sharp it could cut drywall. I spotted Trent Miller showing someone his bicep tattoo. It said, "No regrets." I wish I was joking. No one recognized me. Not really. I got a few polite nods. One, "Hey, didn't we have Spanish together?" moment. Even a, "Did you teach here now?" from a guy who used to trip me in the hallway. It was incredible. Not because I felt slighted, but because I had been forgotten so thoroughly, so efficiently, that I had become brand new. And that was power. I found a seat near the back. Sipped flat soda. Ate too many cupcakes that tasted like regret. Watched the slideshow of old yearbook photos roll by with those overused royalty-free acoustic guitar tracks playing over it. Every once in a while, someone would cheer when their face popped up. When mine did. Nothing. Not a chuckle. Not a whisper. Just the sound of forks scraping on plastic plates. They didn't even recognize high school me. Which honestly, fair. I barely did either. The MC, some overly excited substitute teacher named Mr. Jeffries who looked like he got lost on the way to karaoke night, grabbed the mic and welcomed everyone. So great to see so many familiar faces tonight. We're gonna kick things off with a few words from some of our most notable alumni. Notable. There it was again. First up was Josh. He jogged up like he was still quarterbacking a team that didn't exist. Gave a speech about resilience, failure, and something crypto before name-dropping an app that hadn't updated since 2022. He ended with a wink and a "See you on Forbes." I nearly choked on my cupcake. Then Alyssa took the mic and gave a TED Talk about energy manifestation through daily stretching, and something called gold glimmers. Half the room clapped. The other half checked their watches. Someone behind me whispered, "When's the bar open?" That's when Mr. Jeffries returned to the mic. Before our final speaker, I'd like to take a moment to thank our generous sponsors who made this night possible. My chest didn't tighten. My palms didn't sweat. I just sat still and waited. He rattled off a few names. Petunia's Pet Grooming, Feldman Fitness App LLC, and then, and of course, a huge thank you to our lead sponsor, Blake Electrical, for supporting the auditorium upgrades and powering tonight's event. Silence. Then a flicker. Heads turned. Someone near the front twisted around and mouthed, "Blake Electrical?" I stood. Straightened my suit. Walked calmly to the edge of the stage. And as Mr. Jeffries started clapping, unsure if I was going to speak or fix the wiring, I nodded once, shook his hand, and took the mic. That's when I felt it. The shift. That weird electric silence right before a storm hits. No one said my name, but they were all staring. I didn't plan on giving a speech. I hadn't written one. No bullet points. No index cards. No dramatic pause I practiced in the mirror. I just looked at the crowd, all the old faces, some aged, some surgically resisting it, and spoke like I was talking to a breaker panel that finally needed rewiring. "Hi," I said. "I'm Mason Blake." One beat of silence. Two. Then, a soft flicker of recognition across a few brows. "Oh," someone whispered. "That Mason?" A guy near the punch bowl dropped his plastic cup. I smiled. I know I wasn't on the speakers list. That's okay. I wasn't on most lists back then either. A few awkward chuckles. I didn't win any awards senior year. Didn't play sports. Didn't get a scholarship. I think the only superlative I earned was most likely to be mistaken for a substitute teacher. That got a louder laugh. I kept going. After graduation, I didn't go to a university. I went to trade school. Wired houses. Fixed panel boxes. Took jobs nobody bragged about. I started Blake Electrical out of a van with 1 ladder and 0 Yelp reviews. Now people were listening. Like really listening. I'm not here to flex. There's no punchline coming where I tell you I'm secretly rich, although I did pay for the lighting in this auditorium, so if it shorts out mid-speech, that's my bad. More laughter. Not polite. Genuine. But I guess what I want to say is, not everyone blooms in time for the yearbook. I paused. You all remember the loud ones. The shiny ones. The ones who ran for class office and handed out stickers. I wasn't one of them. I looked toward the back, where a kid once shoved my head into a locker for wearing a too short tie. He was balding now. Wearing a Bluetooth earpiece. He looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I didn't want this microphone. I added. I wanted to be seen. To be counted. Not clapped for, just considered. There was a long quiet. So I closed it out. So, to anyone who was ever called forgettable, or told they had potential like it was a placeholder for failure, hi. Welcome back. You weren't nobodies. You were just building something quieter. I handed the mic back to Mr. Jeffries, nodded, and walked off the stage. No music. No applause break. But something better happened. People stood. Not all at once, no standing ovation, no Hollywood crescendo, but one by one, like light switches flipping across the room. Josh Feldman looked like someone had unplugged his ego. Alyssa gave me a nod that said, "Touché," before pretending to be very invested in the raffle prizes. And someone shouted, "That was solid, dude!" Like we were at a bonfire in 2009. I didn't linger. Found my seat. Sipped my soda. Ate another cupcake. This one actually tasted good. The rest of the night blurred. People came up, old classmates, teachers, a few who admitted they totally didn't realize you were that Mason. I shook hands, made small talk, took a few photos next to the Blake Electrical logo on the sponsor banner. One guy, the former student council president, asked for my card. I gave it to him. Not because I thought he'd use it, but because it felt poetic. Before I left, I took one last walk through the halls. The same tile. The same water fountains. The same echoes. Except this time, my footsteps didn't feel small. After the crowd thinned and the wine ran out, I wandered into the hallway near the lockers, the same ones that once felt like narrow walls closing in. It was quieter there. No DJ. No bingo cards. Just the hum of old lights and a nostalgia so thick you could trip over it. That's when I heard the click-clack of heels behind me. "Mason?" a voice called. I turned. Alyssa Monroe, glitter still clinging to her lashes, stood holding her heels in one hand and her phone in the other. She smiled, soft, curious. "I gotta say, didn't expect that." "Me neither," I said. "You were always quiet," she added. "Yeah. Turns out electricians don't need to shout to light a room." She actually laughed. Genuine this time. The kind that didn't need an audience. We stood in silence a moment. Then she asked the question that always comes after a public win. "So, what's next for you?" I shrugged. "Same as always. Work. Projects. Got a new city contract starting Monday." She blinked. "City?" "Municipal buildings. Street light upgrades. A few office rewires. Nothing flashy. That's kind of amazing. It's kind of normal. I just stuck with it." She looked away, like trying to hide something behind her confident posture. Then, "I teach fitness classes now. 3 times a week. And I do copywriting for a skincare brand, sometimes." "Sounds like a lot." She nodded. "It is. And also, not enough." I didn't know what to say to that. But maybe I didn't need to. She finally said, "I think we got told early on that if it didn't look like a movie, it didn't count." "Yeah," I replied. "But most of life happens between scenes." She smiled again. This time smaller. Softer. "Glad you showed up tonight, Mason." "Me too." She walked back toward the gym, heels swinging in her hand like a white flag. I stayed a little longer. Let the hum of the hallway buzz around me. It felt different now. Not like it owned me. Like I'd rewired it without even trying. Before I left, I passed the trophy case again. Still dusty. Still filled with plaques for track meets and perfect attendance. But now, it also had a fresh flyer pinned next to the announcements board. A big thank you to our sponsor, Blake Electrical. Powering futures since 2016. It made me laugh. Not because it was wrong, but because for the first time, my name wasn't printed as an afterthought. I drove home in silence, no music, no radio. Just the quiet hum of tires on road and a feeling that had taken a decade to settle in. I wasn't behind. I wasn't lesser. I wasn't not worth a mention. I was just a guy who took a different route. Longer, maybe, but sturdier. And it got me here. The next morning, I woke up to 12 new friend requests, 3 LinkedIn messages, and 1 DM from someone named Kyle Cash Money Watson that just said, "Bro, you hiring?" Apparently, dropping the quietest mic in reunion history was louder than I thought. Still, I didn't rush to reply. I made coffee instead. Let Sparky, my one-eyed, permanently furious rescue mutt, outside to bark at nothing like it owed him rent. He was the only living creature I knew who judged people harder than I did. My phone kept buzzing. Alyssa had tagged me in a photo, a group shot near the sponsor banner, where I'm standing slightly off to the side, arms folded, trying not to roll my eyes. Her caption: "Some people bloom late. Others just built their own garden." Someone else had shared a clip of my speech, already at 1,800 views. The comments were a buffet of confusion and humility. Wait. That was Mason? I feel personally called out by that speech, and I was nice to everyone. My husband installs HVAC, and he literally made me stand up and clap. Then there was a message from Mr. Koenig, my old shop teacher. Told you. You build stuff that lasts. I smiled at that one. Replied. Still do. By noon, I got a call from Principal Halford. He'd retired years ago, supposedly to Arizona, where he sells real estate badly and golfs even worse, according to legend. But now he was on the line, voice warmer than I remembered. Mason, he said, I heard about your speech. A few teachers sent me the video. Oh, I said. Don't worry. No detention. But I wanted to say, that was something. A few of us always knew you had that spark. We just never expected it'd come with actual wiring diagrams. We talked for 10 minutes. He even offered to connect me to a board member from a local school looking to update their electrical infrastructure. Said they wanted someone grounded. I laughed. Later, I checked the reunion Facebook group again. The chatter had shifted. Less about who wore what, more about what was said. Someone posted a blurry photo of my logo on the sponsor banner and wrote, Turns out the quiet kid lit up the whole night. Respect. Another comment read, Makes you wonder who else we never saw clearly. The shift was subtle. But it was real. I didn't feel triumphant. Or cocky. Or like I'd gotten revenge. Honestly, I just felt clear. Like I'd scrubbed the last bit of shame off a part of myself I didn't realize I was still carrying. That night, I drove the van through downtown. The city looked different. Not because it had changed, but because I had. I pulled over near a job site, a new building going up where the old rec center used to be. My crew was scheduled to wire it next month. I sat there for a while. Watched a crane lift steel beams into the air like someone playing Tetris with the sky. That's when it hit me. I didn't pay for their party because I wanted their attention. I paid for it because I could. Because I built something solid. Because while they were rehearsing speeches for applause, I was out here wiring the world, circuit by circuit, breaker by breaker. They danced under the lights I installed. Took selfies under fixtures I mounted. Laughed through sound systems I grounded. They just didn't know it. And maybe that was the best part. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show up, do your job, and let them figure out later that the whole night worked, because of you. 3 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Twice. Then, curiosity got the better of me. Mason Blake? I answered. A pause. Then, hey, it's Chelsea. I blinked. Chelsea who? Chelsea Landers? From AP Bio? I used to sit next to you, senior year, we dissected frogs. Right. Chelsea. One of the background extras in the Popular Kids show. Always there, always laughing, rarely speaking directly to me unless it was group project panic. Oh, hey. I said, neutral. I saw your speech. She continued, voice awkward. I just wanted to say sorry. If I ever made you feel, unseen. I didn't say anything. She added quickly, You probably don't even remember, but at lunch once I said something like, You're just gonna be a light bulb guy, right? I didn't mean it. I did say it. But, yeah? I let her hang there. Then said, Funny thing about light bulbs. The right one can change an entire room. She laughed nervously. Anyway, she said, if you ever need a copywriter. I'm freelancing now. Would love to work with someone like you. Click. I didn't mean to be cold. But I'd spent too many years handing out warmth to people who only showed up when the room was already lit. Later that night, I posted one photo. Just one. Me in my suit, standing alone under the reunion banner, my company logo glowing softly in the background. Caption? Still not worth a mention? No hashtags. No tags. Just silence. Within an hour, the likes started rolling in. Comments too. From people I remembered. From people I didn't. But more interesting were the private messages. One from Tyler, the guy who once made a game out of bumping my books out of my hands. "Hey man, saw your post. Mad respect. Seriously." Another from a former teacher. "Mason, I showed your speech to my current class. They were blown away." One kid said he felt seen for the first time. Even Trent Miller commented, "Bro's the real success story. I still can't spell electrician without autocorrect." By the end of the week, my post hit 7,000 views. A month later, I got an email from a city council rep, said they were impressed by our work at the school. Wanted Blake Electrical to bid on a municipal contract for a new civic center. I submitted the proposal. 2 weeks later, we landed it. Biggest job we'd ever had. Joey and Tomas freaked out like we just won the Super Bowl. Sparky celebrated by peeing on the company banner I left on the porch. I took it as approval. And still, I didn't gloat. Didn't update my bio to CEO. Didn't start giving TED Talks. Didn't send out mass texts with links to my speech. I just kept working. One panel at a time. One project at a time. One life I was building, not for applause, but because I could. I ran into Josh Feldman at a gas station a few weeks later. He was filling up a beat-up Range Rover and pretending not to notice the scratch on his bumper. "Hey," he said when he saw me. "Electric guy." "Mason," I corrected. Right. He chuckled. "Crazy night, huh? That speech of yours really hit." I nodded. "How's the startup?" He shifted. On pause. "You know how funding is." "Of course." He looked at my van. "Still doing wires and stuff?" "Yeah," I said. "Still building things that work?" He had no reply to that. Just gave me a smile that didn't reach his eyes and said, "Well, see you around." I got in the van. Rolled down the window. Then added, just loud enough, "Don't forget, breakers flip when overloaded. You should get that looked at." And drove off. I never went to another reunion. Didn't need to. Because I realized something that night in the school auditorium, something no applause, no plaque, no name tag could give me. I wasn't just worth a mention. I was the reason the whole place ran.